I'm Dan from H Valley Tools, and we're going to talk about the premium Juice Groove Jig now available at hvalleytools.com. So if you're making cutting boards, you're doing Etsy stuff, or you're doing some local commissions, a lot of times people ask for these juice grooves in the cutting board. Mainly because if you're cutting any kind of meat or whatever, you don't want the juice spilling over and getting on your counter. It's a nice little thing to catch it so that you're not making a mess. But if you're doing a lot of these, it gets to be kind of a pain to set your router, to eliminate the burning, to set it every time for each different size of cutting board. So H Valley Tools has this really cool jig that is adjustable with a couple screws, and you can just keep reusing it. The nice part is when you get it set up, you can do your roughing pass, especially if you're doing multiples in a small run of these boards. You can do a rough pass with the router and then set that depth a little lower, eliminate any burning, and then do a second pass while the jig stays the same size, which is great. So it's really easy and portable. Like a lot of the H Valley Tools jigs nowadays, they're all aluminum extrusion. They're heavy duty. Honestly, you can use this as a regular edge guide just around your shop. It's really nice to have. But what you're going to get is you're going to get these 4 rails that they all connect together into a square or a rectangle or whatever. You get 6 of these adjustable guides that go into this, and we'll show you how to do that. And then 2 of these other guides where you can secure it down to the workbench when you're doing a cutting board with an open handle. So in case you just want to make that juice groove on 3 sides, you can still do that and keep this thing square, which is really nice. So let's get into it a little bit. So first thing is that you'll see the imperial measurements on this side. You'll flip that over, and on the back side is where we're going to put these guides. So we have a couple of them installed, but these are just T-nuts that are going to go and slide into this extrusion. The Allen key is included, so you can loosely tighten these down to get started. So once that's loosely tightened, you're going to move on to the next step, which is this void on the end of one side of each of these rails. That is so that you can get the Allen key into there to get to the screw. So you got the ball end Allen key here. So you have your screw here, or bolt here, with your nylon washer. That goes right through this hole right here. And as you're holding that, you're putting this guide rail. So this has a tapered end. The taper is going to fit into, well, facing the extrusion, and one of the 2 inside locations. You don't want to do it too tight because you're going to have to slide that into the track of the adjacent one. Next part is you're essentially going to make 2 L's, and then we'll connect the L's at the last step. So one thing to notice is that when you're going through this with these 6 squaring guides, you're going to want 2 on 2 of the rails that are going to be the parallel rails for the wide side, for the long side, and then 1 of these in each of the short sides. So that's, most cutting boards are going to be a rectangular shape in some dimension. So you want to have 2 of those guides on the long side just for stability, so it's not going to walk around on you. So you're going to get those in the middle of the short sides, around those on the long sides, and that's going to have that's how you're going to pretty much size this whole thing and squeeze it together. And we'll get to that once we get to the setup. This railing is going to go on the inside T-track here and kind of slide in there. Just get in there temporarily, and do the same thing on the other side. So now we got it in somewhat of the orientation we need. So this is where the adjustability comes into play. So those long sides, we got the 2 squaring blocks for the stability on the long side. So the next thing we're going to determine is where to set these squaring blocks. How far in are we going to set them? So if you imagine this is upside down, so when we flip it over, that bushing of our router is going to be riding against this edge. So in this example, so say we wanted a 1/2 inch from the edge. We are using a 5/8 inch bearing and we're using a 1/2 inch core box bit. So to get a 1/2 inch offset of this, we're going to be setting these blocks 7/16 in. So trust me on that, the math works out. So the only really thing you need for this is a combination square set to 7/16. So now you know that when we're flipped over, when that bushing is riding against this, that it is going to be a 1/2 inch from the edge, and we're going to set all 6 of these squaring blocks to that same exact distance off the combination square, so that you're going to have that consistency around all 4 sides. And that's kind of the thing that is annoying when you're making a homemade jig. You're making it out of plywood that you cut into L's and screw to your work surface, whatever it is. Getting that correct and consistent the whole time is kind of the whole trick. A lot of times those jigs you're riding on the edge of your router. A router like this doesn't really help you because it's not consistent around the distance from the edge of the base plate to the center of the bit. So for an operation like this, using a bushing is far better. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go around all 6 of these squaring blocks. We're going to hold them here. And for example, so we went a 1/2 inch in, but you can go anywhere from an 1/8 inch to an inch. It really depends on how far away you tighten these. So for our purposes, we want a 1/2 inch reveal pretty much on all sides of the juice groove. So we're just going to hold it here, and I'll walk around and tighten all these. Okay, so we have all 6 of these squaring guides 7/16 off the inside. They're tight, they're good. And now the last step really for adjusting this is to flip this over, put it on top of the board, and get it squeezed tight so that it's touching on all corners. What's nice is that because this void is here, you have access to this bolt from the top side. So as you're walking around and tighten these, you're pretty much pulling this thing tight. So we have this tight around the board. Walk around, make sure that all 4 of these are tight, that the nylon washer, it's doing its thing. And now you can see that that is super tight, where it's hitting on all 6 of the insides of those lips here. So you're doing a batch of these, you're doing 10, 15, 20 of these boards. You're set up pretty much as long as they're the same size and you cut them the same size on the table saw or whatever, you can just put them on the board, take this, run this bushing right along the side here. And remember, because of our offset that we used with this 5/8 inch bushing, 1/2 inch core box bit, and 7/16 offset from the squaring blocks, we're going to be 1/2 inch offset all around on all 4 sides, for a reveal for that juice groove, and it's going to be consistent on all of them, and it's going to be square on all of them, which is really kind of the thing that's going to make your board look professional, is that it's square, because that's something that you're going to see if it's not, which is great. So now this is pretty much set up for as many boards as you want to do of the same size. And if you don't have the same size, if you have a couple different ones, just a matter of loosening 2 of them, expanding it, and then doing the same operation that we just did. So another option that's really nice with boards that have handles. So a lot of boards have handles. It's a nice little item, nice little decoration, the hole to hang it up or whatever. But for something like this, it doesn't really, you could put a square juice groove in the middle of this if you wanted to. Another option is really just doing a 3-sided groove with this. So the way that would work is you have these two other holders here that slide into the outside of the jig. So the easiest way we found to use this is if you put this down in here and you adjust the jig like you did before, and you put this on the outside, you can take a little bit of 2-sided tape, put it on the underside of this, and kind of press it down. And now you're able to ride these 3 sides instead of doing the entire thing, which is nice because these are charcuterie boards, but they could still be multi-purpose. You can make these larger, and obviously because this is adjustable, you can make this same kind of design in a much larger board. So that's one nice little thing, is that you can use these for that purpose. The other nice thing is that if you get into engraving, CNC, laser engraving, whatever it might be, if you have a groove that's going around this whole board, and maybe you want to engrave it, wedding gift or something like that, what you could do is you could even do a 3-sided groove on this side, or you can make a shorter rectangle and leave kind of a section dedicated for engraving. That's a nice little feature. So there are a lot of nice little features with this jig. It's really not just a rectangle. You can kind of configure it in multi ways, so that you have a lot of options. So this is a great jig to have if you do cutting boards in your commission work, in your Etsy work, whatever it might be. So you come into hvalleytools.com or in store. They're available now.